and he'd become like possessed of speaking, and you don't see that version of Hitler here. He's very quiet, and it feels like you're seeing the Hitler after those speeches of rousing people up. And it's kind of like saying like if you, not to compare to Hitler, but I'm saying like when you see a movie like Remember the Titans or We Are Marshall, and you have the main coach, the Denzel Washington, the Matthew McConaughey, and they have to give that speech to the football players, and it's we are winners because and they kind of they lift the spirit, and it feels like this Hitler is, you're seeing him after he gave that kind of speech, and he's kind of like worn down, and he's just tired and doesn't want to. And that would have been interesting to show, maybe a kind of show scenes with him that he does, even he's not just speaking that way to a million-man army standing, but that people, that even in his small confines of his room, he's still as passionate and talking, that would kind of bring an element of, maybe we shouldn't, do this. He's not, he is a good, speaker, and he's, like that would have been interesting also to bring into this movie. Because as it stands, what you do see is you see a lot of these British actors, essentially. I mean, I think everybody is British, with the exception of Tom Cruise. Everyone's like a British actor inside of a Nazi suit. And they have this kind of like scared shitless face, like I don't want to go and get food at the craft service table. I'm wearing a Nazi, and I don't want to get my ass kicked. There's just like this fear with all of them, and I guess that you bring that because they're afraid they're going to get caught. But it just like there was this sense of like there's no like. I don't know, like that's the kind of thing I was talking about the screen. Like aside from American History X with Edward Norton, I don't think there's ever been a portrayal of somebody who portrayed somebody that the audience is just not going to like, and then bring that pride to it. And I go, when you're playing an American soldier, like let's say Patton, and you see that the performance that George C. Scott brought to that, and that he was like, I'm an American, and he was just went for it. Like if you take that performance and you put it somewhere where people hate America, they're not going to, like you wouldn't expect someone like that who's playing Patton, if you take that performance and you put it in a place where it's like it's not cool to be American, you'd see a difference in like the way he portrays Patton, and be like, well, like you and I felt like that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see someone who was German that was proud of being German, that they would, that they were like that to them, because say what you want about this time period, when you go back and see the documentaries, a lot of them, it was just, it was very poor. The Germans were extremely poor at the time. They were living in poverty, and, this regime, if nothing else, it wasn't really about genocide. It was about, that they were all isolated, and then Hitler was able to, when they were standing next to each other, marching, it was like they didn't feel alone anymore, and it was like, we're one, we're people. In the same way that an Obama rally gets everybody, that when you unite these people, they're united and they feel that pride of their country, that it would have been interesting to kind of show some dilemma of where did it, what were the things Hitler put out there that people were like, okay, we've got to go exterminate this or something, and then the Germans are going, well, I don't really agree with that, and seeing that kind of shift, that these are things you don't see in Operation Valkyrie. So to talk about the things that you do see, well, you do see there is a lot of, I'll say that the first and second act, something else you see a lot of boom. I don't know who the boom operator was, but damn, dude, you dropped that boom so many times during scenes. I thought this was Operation Boom Operator or something. It was crazy how many times you see the boom. But the things that you do see, there's not a weak, like I said, there's not a weak performance. It's kind of like the movie U-571. If you watch that, it's that tension. You can't say anything bad about the performances. Everybody's doing a good job. But I guess where my fault lies with the things that I'd say the last act, when they're finally delivering the bomb, and then when they're like, we're delivering it, that's when it really gets good and interesting. But then the build up to it is just kind of like showing, just stern faces, and if we get caught, what's going to happen to us? And that I think, for me, having read a script, Inglourious Bastards by Quentin Tarantino, it was interesting to see that there were no, I had explained, like Kubrick once said something to Jack Nicholson that he was like, it's real, but it's not interesting. And that's, I think, what I feel like Operation Valkyrie, where it's all real, but there's just nothing interesting in it. And I guess the way to explain it is like the movie Life is Beautiful, where that's about living in a concentration camp. But the interesting aspect of it is that you have this father and a son, and it was interesting like how he was able to take that entire experience and spin it into this funny lie story. Like, that's an amazing movie, say what you want. And that was the interesting aspect of taking that, and, it is real, but that interesting aspect of it. And I feel like that's what this movie lacks, is those interesting things that if you do read Inglourious Basterds, I don't want to spoil it, there was a scene where the Germans are sitting around at a table, and they're playing a card game of, like, guess who's on the head, and just little things like that you're like, that I hope that's, when we see Inglourious Basterds, that's played out good, because it leads to this great kind of standoff that I don't want to spoil. But there was nothing like that in here, where you just see the kind of Germans just shooting the shit, kind of like in Reservoir Dogs, where you see criminals just shooting the shit about stuff, or music, or things like even the title of Valkyrie, I think it referenced to Wagner, which is the composer, the Ride of the Valkyries, and all that stuff. That Hitler liked that music. That was essentially, I guess you could say, like the John Williams of the time, or something like, or the, to everyone who loved the new Dark Knight score, the Hans Zimmer, James Newton Howard, like at the time, it would have been interesting, for us to talk about that and get as passionate about it. It would have been interesting to see Germans talk passionate about things that not extermination, and it just kind of, like I said, you don't kind of see those things. For what you do see, I'll say this about Tom Cruise. I mean, you really, the character that he plays doesn't have a hand, and he's really only got 3 fingers. So so he really just has 3 fingers for both arms, 2 hands, and it's incredible that it's something about Tom Cruise that you don't notice that. Like any other actor, like this isn't a Born on the 4th of July kind of performance where he doesn't use that against, like, why he's doing it. Like he's like, I lost my fucking arm and for nothing. Like, it's not a Ron Kovic kind of Tom Cruise. He's you don't even think he lost it. Like, there's just a stern commandingness to it that it never hinders. You never really get that sense of frustration from him that you would from maybe if it would have been played a different kind of way. And it's a testament to Tom Cruise that you never really becomes something. Even the fact that he lost his eye too is just, it never becomes something. You never focus on that. So I'll say that's a testament to his performance. To the other performances, like I said, I can't say anything bad about them. They all played. It's perfect what they did, but like I said, there's a level of, like, from what the things I'm going to segue into my other review, Slumdog Millionaire. Having seen that movie also, to compare it, I know they're 2 different things, but just the tone of what I'm trying to say is like it's it would have been nice to see Germans bringing a German perspective to it, because I know you don't want to, like I said with American History X, like it would have been interesting to see 2 Germans just talking about how they kill Jews and laughing and enjoying it and having this gleeful, like, oh, did you torture him? Like, and there's this sense of, like, you can't do that because, your main audience is going to be Jewish and American people. They're going to, but it's nice